Buddy, it's what is it? Tuesday?
Yep. Show is.
Sure enough. All right, so I got Mario with us, and we're going to talk about the meeting at the White House yesterday. Uh, hot take. What you got, Mario?
I want to take everyone in that room, and I want to do like a mean average approval rating of everyone in that room. I'd like to know what it is.
Oh, you know what? I'll ask. I'll ask ChatGPT.
Oh yeah, good question. I mean, I know Trump is around 50%. Um, Keir Starmer has like uh, his approval has got to be single
Excuse me.
digits. Keir Starmer right now is trying to fend off essentially a recall. Okay, because he's led his nation and ruined his nation and ruined his people. Okay, um, same for Emmanuel Macron, right? He is in power because he is very effective at divide and conquer amongst the electorate,
Yep.
and because the French boomer generation is probably the most delusional delusional demographic. Okay, in the modern world. Um, Mertz is in power because they essentially cheated the German people out of a free and fair election. All right, while also cheating Romania. Maloney talks the talk, but in the end, she takes a knee for the European Union. Ursula von der Leyen is effectively a witch queen. Okay, she reminds me of the witch from the movie Willow, like basically casting pigs, the lot of you, you know, casting a spell, turning her people into swine. Um, why is Finland there? Honestly, NATO, the
Right.
NATO, the NATO security chief, whatever the guy in charge of NATO. Um, great, you're there. All you're there to do is essentially negotiate money, negotiate money from the U.S. purse. You are in charge of a collection of European militaries that would basically desert and would not fight for their political leadership at all because their political leadership hates them. The only guy in the room I might take seriously would be the Prime Minister of Denmark, but that's it.
Yeah. So the mean rating is around 40%.
It's like a collection of people in that room who are so fucking irrelevant that all of them have to be present to even give themselves a shred of credibility.
Yeah, and basically, here's what's happened: is you've got the Russia-Ukraine war going on. It's been almost 4 years now. Um, God, is that right?
February 2022 is when it began, I believe.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So not quite, but rapidly approaching it. And
a 3 year
Pitt
special
Danny points
military
out,
operation.
uh, Pitt Danny points out, Moroni is nowhere near paying 2% to NATO, and that's true of most of them. Um, oh, God, what was I saying? Okay, so basically, this war's been going on for almost 4 years, and the European leadership has done nothing. They've all they've done for the 4 years is demand that America do more, right? And so what we're looking at right now is basically the welfare queens of the world have gathered to demand that Daddy Warbucks continue to give them gives.
I think it took Germany an entire year just to get approval from itself to start making like 150 millimeter artillery rounds. So to basically get an artillery round factory started took like a year
Mhm.
of its bureaucratic squabbling amongst itself. Um, you're talking about with Europe. You're talking about countries that are have bought in completely to essentially green energy suicide. They cannot power themselves because they refuse to. Germany like banned nuclear power plants, which is the great. And now they have to buy basically they have to buy electricity from France, who has not given up its nuclear program, which I mean is smart. Obviously, honestly,
Right.
you don't have access to oil. All right, you don't really have access to natural gas within the confines of your borders. I mean, you get some. There's some in Eastern Europe, but yeah, and the best deal possible is to purchase energy from Russia. Okay, it's a natural partnership, but
Well, and they have continued to
psychopaths.
purchase. All of Europe, essentially, has continued to purchase oil and energy from Russia
Yep.
throughout the conflict,
Yep.
essentially funding the Russian war effort.
And during this meeting, operatives within the Ukrainian special forces or whatever the SBU, they blew up a pipeline. They blew up another pipeline that was supplying energy to Europe. So that's great.
The
Zelensky,
Nordstrom 2.
not Nordstrom True. There was it's a
Oh,
ground line.
they blew up. They also blew up a different pipeline
Yeah, that just happened
because
yesterday.
it's pretty. When did it just happen?
Yesterday there was another
Oh,
pipeline.
see,
It wasn't reported heavily, but
oh, see, shit, I hadn't heard
there were
about that
drone
yet.
strikes. Yeah, there were drone strikes on a Russian pipeline that kind of bifurcates and heads into southern and central Eastern Europe.
So that
Right.
this would then be the third clear instance of
My,
Zelensky actively sabotaging peace talks.
Mile Banks actually, she got the reference I mentioned. Thank you, Queen Bavmarda. You dare challenge me?
Yeah,
You're not warriors. You
you
pigs!
pigs,
Pigs!
pigs. Yeah.
Thank you.
Willow was one of the greats, man.
Yeah. Aaron Olson says Germany sent some tanks. They lasted 5 seconds, but yeah, that's true. They said the Leopard 2 tanks were supposed to be uh,
Yeah.
game changing on the battlefield. You know, these the European and American Wunderwaffen, right, was going to turn the tide. Unfortunately, so this war ended really in 2023 when the Ukrainian army attempted a summer offensive to take back southeastern Ukraine, and the idea was that they were going to retake Crimea at the end of this offensive. All right, um, they made it about 1 kilometer, and everything they sent into the breach basically was hastily destroyed by combined drone, artillery, and air. So they squandered all the weapons they had. They squandered their best men. And right now, as these uh, as these meetings are taking place, there is no ceasefire. And President Trump and Putin agreed that as we conduct these peace negotiations, basically the battle will continue on the ground. All right. So and Russia has really pushed hard to seize as much territory as they can, or seize key logistical points right now in eastern Ukraine. They are encircling Povrovsk and have pushed deep, like deep north of Povrovsk. Is another major city there that they have essentially like twin encirclements of two major cities, and these cities are the logistical hubs for essentially all of eastern Ukraine. Okay, if they fall, that would complete Russia's operational control of Donetsk. All right, Luhansk and Donetsk are the two main territories that Russia considers part of Novorossiya, New Russia, um, and so we're going to have to find a way to inform Zelensky and his European backers that look, Russia's not going to. They lost like 100,000 men, apparently, if you believe it. Do you think you're going to lose 100,000 men and then give up the land that you took in exchange for peace? I don't
Yeah.
see how
No.
that's going. I don't see how that's going to happen. I mean, that's freaking absurd. Um, Putin is an authoritarian, and he has basically what would appear to be like an iron grip over his country, but I don't. That wouldn't be tolerated. He'd be cooed. Like he'd probably be assassinated by the rest of the Russian leadership if he agreed to such terms. So Russia has signaled that they are willing to give up some land. What they want is they'll give up some of the territory they've taken in other provinces, other oblasts of the Ukraine, but that means you're going to have to give us all of Donetsk in its entirety. Okay, and Luhansk and Donetsk are two oblasts that voted overwhelmingly to become part of Russia anyway. All right, so I don't know. Yeah,
Maybe the
in the end, what really would create peace in the Ukraine would be if we just allowed Ukraine to lose and stop funding them.
that would be my
Stop funding
preference.
Ukraine, and you will have peace. Okay,
That
peace
that would be my
the hard
preference
way,
if
the
we
hard
hadn't if we hadn't gotten involved and injected so much money. Um, and only about half of which has actually gone toward war efforts. Like
right.
let's not forget that at a minimum, according to reporting and according to Zelensky's own reporting, um, around half of all the U.S. taxpayer dollars that have been injected into this current Russo-Ukraine conflict have just vanished
Uh-huh.
through various mechanisms, mostly through the use of these pop-up overnight security contractors. These guys pop up and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're a mercenary company, and we're gonna take some of that money and use it to get involved in Slava Ukraine." And then they just disappear with all that money. Um, it honestly, it wouldn't break my heart if Ukraine was entirely consumed by Russia, and that was the end of the conflict. But
Yeah, if Eastern Ukraine, if Ukraine east of the Dnieper River, okay,
yeah,
became Russian, that wouldn't. Here's what.
and that's the other thing I was going to get to. If you pick something like a river or a mountain range and just say, okay, this is the new line. Um, an actual physical geographical feature is a much more effective border to maintain peace, to maintain security, than any imaginary line, right? And I don't mean that in the way that lefties talk about. Oh, borders are just imaginary lines. What? No, no, they're not. There is a good reason for borders. My point is that when your border is a physical geographical feature, an obvious land feature, instead of an arbitrary line that's just chosen,
Yeah,
then then it makes for a much more effective and enforceable border.
logical borders, basically. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Um, now, yesterday's meeting really wasn't all that eventful. It wasn't. I I don't know what I was expecting. It looks like the key takeaway was they all agreed that there would be security guarantees. All right, in any post-war reality there on the ground. So,
yeah. I'm a little
and
concerned about the wording there.
yeah, it concerns me as well because one of Russia's points was they don't want U.S. okay or NATO troops. They don't want NATO troops stationed in Ukraine. You know what I mean? As uh, as part of like a permanent peace plan, because what it's looking like is kind of like uh, on the current timeline, it's looking like a DMZ, like a North Korea, South Korea, a DMZ zone, or
Right.
demilitarized zone um, type reality, where there's going to be a buffer zone in between Novorossiya, um, and the rest of Ukraine, and someone's going to have to staff that, right? And someone is going to have to exert control over the Ukrainian military, particularly their ideological units. Okay, like the Azov Battalion. Someone is going to have to prevent them from conducting operations on their own, just conducting like terror attacks and raids on their own, which is what they've been doing for a decade. I mean, that's really that's part of the reason this war began anyway, was that Ukraine was passively backing paramilitary groups who were inflicting like atrocities on Russian-speaking civilians in Luhansk and Donetsk. All right. Um, there were some particularly nasty things they did, like capturing people and literally crucifying them and burning them to death. Okay, just because they were Russian. So, and they of course get their ideological underpinning is that they're the direct descendants of the Galician SS division. Okay, which was the Ukrainian SS uh, during World War II. So let's see what the
Right.
chats have to say here for a moment. But yeah, it's looking like demilitarized zone. That would be the end result. Who's gonna staff it? Okay, who's gonna man it? I don't know. And what's going to be done to prevent Ukraine from essentially starting it again? Okay, I mean, you might be thinking logically. I mean, like, no, it's just why would you want to do that? Why would you want this to happen all over again? Well, I mean, for certain people for a certain class of people in Ukraine, this war has been extremely profitable. Okay,
Yes.
people who don't give a shit about their own people, people who don't care about their nation's future, have profited handsomely from this. And in the end, I do hope Zelensky gets Mussolini'd. Okay, I do hope that the Ukrainians themselves execute this man, who isn't really one of them anyway. Let's see what
Alex correctly points out
Alex
these are
says.
both Soviet states, and Zelensky is a Soviet hardliner. Yes, absolutely. Ukraine was part of USSR before it was dissolved, uh, and correctly reminds us. We're
Yeah,
about to get to that. We talked a little bit about similar things happening in Germany, where they played fuck games with the elections and
yep,
just straight stole them. But even before that, we've heard a lot about people stealing elections. Zelensky just straight canceled elections. Shut them down. Just said, no, you don't even get. I won't even do you the courtesy of allowing you the fantasy that you had gotten the opportunity to vote. No, just stay home.
yep.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, probably one of the biggest impediments to peace at this point is Zelensky himself. All right. I mean, he's at this meeting yesterday, and
he's sabotaged multiple
he's
peace meetings.
he's still talking about Crimea. Okay, he's still talking about Crimea, which you lost under the Obama administration. Okay,
Yeah,
like give it
it's
up.
been almost when
Yeah,
did they take Crimea?
to 2020, like 2015.
2014. It's been 10 years.
Yeah, yeah, give it up. That's done. That's Russia at this point. Okay, no, you're not going to reclaim Khazaria. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. Okay,
Yeah, and
um,
they've had Crimea, parts of Donetsk, and Luhansk since 2014. That's that's gone.
TPS support says Alex. Excuse me. Alex says, although I did overestimate Russia, I thought they would be in Kiev in a heartbeat. That doesn't mean I underestimated Ukraine. Without the U.S., that would have happened. Okay. Yeah. So there were three major, I guess, stages in this war for Russia. First was special military operation, where they seized all of eastern Ukraine in essentially a blitzkrieg, and had troops extended way beyond like support line. Okay, way beyond the logistics capability, right around Kiev. Okay, so that was like the shock and awe that we saw in the first few weeks of this conflict.
Yeah, but when you get out past your
Then,
logistics,
yeah,
that
they overextended themselves significantly, and then um, that's when all the U.S. military's high tech goodies like Javelin missiles, especially, um, started getting just basically emptied into the supply depots of the Ukraine, and they went Ukraine went on a tear where they were using our tech, our latest anti tank weaponry, to basically shoot Russian tanks and Russian armored vehicles like fish in a barrel, right? And pushed Russia all the way back to deep into eastern Ukraine. The Russian military was kind of in a panic at this point after having getting routed and on all fronts, and they went into essentially went into hibernation, while private military groups like Wagner PMC,
Yeah.
private military company, essentially took over and harvested Russian prisons for like the worst of the worst, and used them in new tactical, assault squad formations. Basically, going small, men who have nothing to lose, men who have nothing to live for. They don't care if they live or die, and use them to start grinding at the Ukrainian forces. And that came to a head in oh shit, what's the name of there was like an entire year of warfare. This Bakhmut, okay, in Bakhmut, that's where Wagner PMC, uh, finally turned the tide of the war by crushing the Ukrainian army there. And Zelensky and his military geniuses behind him decided to keep emptying division after division after division into Bakhmut, so that they wouldn't lose it, and essentially it was all destroyed in a slow, heavy grind by Russian mercenary forces. After that, the Russian army essentially refitted itself and learned from the tactics of Wagner. Um, and of course, Prigozhin, his great reward for serving the motherland was he was executed
Yep.
because Russia. uh, and yeah, and now the Soviet army is a leaner and a far more effective combined arms force than they were in the beginning. All right, but now basically their operational ability right now or tactic is essentially that slow grind. Okay, the orc grind where they pound it with air power, massive artillery strikes. Okay, um, infiltration squads of 2 to 5 men, basically like termites working behind enemy lines, causing sabotage, and then sudden defenses once they've worn things down. I mean, proper combined arms warfare. Um, and it's been highly effective, but it doesn't really make the news that often because it's not big splash movements. Okay, where large chunks of territory are taken at a time. It's basically a kilometer at a time.
Right.
That's how they and it, but it hasn't stopped. And here's the thing: Ukraine, since its total failure of a summer offensive in 2023, Ukraine has not effectively mounted an offensive since then. You could say their excursion into Kursk, which is Russian territory, and holding a salient there for for 7 months or so. Um, that was that was a huge gambit, but Russia didn't take the bait and didn't redirect its main forces, okay, to basically kick out the intruders. Instead, they they teamed up with Kim Jong Un and used North Koreans to do it. Okay, giving the North Korean army very very valuable battlefield experience. Okay, which they had none of. Which they had none of since the close of the war, in
They
1956.
they learned how to climb the ladder into the meat grinder. That's what the North Koreans. That was the North Korean takeaway. It's like, oh, war sucks. We forgot.
Well, North Korean forces are, if you want to look at a group of people, a military that might be willing to throw themselves into death, the North Koreans would be a good candidate. It's like,
Yeah,
what?
they're greenhouse flowers. They're greenhouse warriors. Basically, their entire discipline is theoretical, garrison training. There's no
Well, right.
they don't even have people. They don't even have veterans in their military who have combat experience that they can discuss with the upcoming troops. Like
Right. But
the oldest North Korean soldiers have never seen active conflict.
yeah. And what I really meant by that though was life on a Russian battlefield might actually be better than life in garrison in North Korea.
The food's better.
The food's better. That's right. And I thought it was pretty funny the reports from the Russian military that kind of slipped through, like, "Hey, fuck, man, The moment these guys got internet, they became instant porn addicts. Like these guys are gooning. These guys is
Yeah.
goonas. Okay, like what the fuck? Like just like Iraqis or Afghanis. I'm sure. Anyway, oh yeah, TPS does mention that Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Boris Johnson was at fault as well. It wasn't just the Biden administration. I think Boris Johnson, I believe, was instrumental in convincing Zelensky of his delusions that he was going to be like you know, a great Khan, okay, and seizing all of the disputed territories in the Ukraine. So there's that. But Boris Johnson is he is no more. Just as Keir Starmer is soon to be no more.
Since you took a beat to address the comments, let me say this real quick. I see that there's about 10 times as many people watching as there are making comments. Guys, if y'all are watching right now, go ahead and drop a comment in the live chat. And before we close it out, if I can see a few more names coming through in the live chat, then I'll give away a free membership and try to get some more of you guys in like Flint for the Saturday deep dives. So let's go back to the, what are they calling? They're calling it Article 5 like guarantees. Yeah. So here's where I think that's going to be a problem. One of Putin's primary rationales for initiating the attack to begin with was Zelensky playing these little fuck games with, oh, maybe I'll join NATO, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll join NATO, maybe I won't. And it's been very clear from the beginning that Zelensky wanted to be able to operate as if he was a member of NATO without committing to funding NATO. I'm actually furious about the offer being made, that the U.S. is going to offer something like a NATO Article 5 security guarantee to Ukraine without Ukraine joining NATO. This is just more charity welfare state bullshit. It's like, well, Putin doesn't want you to join NATO, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to offer you all of the benefits of joining NATO with none of the costs or commitments. So Zelensky's going to be treated like a NATO ally for all of the benefits, primarily the Article 5, hey, if you come and swing your dick around again, Putin, then America's going to come in and say, we'll put boots on the ground. Alex, I'm going to give you some pushback here. Alex says, I'm fine with the offer because it's not an offer. It's simply the status quo. It's not quite. The key difference is once you put it in an agreement, once you put it in a document, in a contract, in black and white, then the U.S. can be compelled to put troops on the ground. Now, in fairness, and Pitt Danny's right, it is a promise we can renege on in the future, but it's a promise that we can also be held to if we've got the wrong people in charge in our government here. And if you don't think that 2028 is about to be stolen like 2020 was, you've underestimated the desperation of the thin bench Democrats that are currently chasing the flip in the House and the Senate for no reason other than they want to impeach Donald Trump. So
a brief aside, we're already seeing on 4chan, there is actually a paid shill effort to basically shilling for Gavin Newsom 2028. It's such blatant astroturf nonsense. Okay, everyone's quite abused by it. We're calling it the worst psyop of 2025 on 4chan. Gavin Newsom shilling, and it's like just showing. It shows Gavin Newsom, this wicked man, okay, essentially a lizard person wearing a skin mask, right, with his like all white family, and then it shows it shows JD Vance and his muttlings. You know what I mean? It's like, see, white man, you have to vote for Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And yeah, the pictures of Gavin Newsom's family, they look like the Von Trapps.
yeah, that's right. So anyway, what I wanted to say, yeah. So
TPS,
about this.
So okay, real quick. TPS says, we talked about it the other night. It's entirely unenforceable. Correct. It is entirely unenforceable. Unenforceable. Dad says contracts are nothing in international law. Correct. Again, correct. Totally unenforceable. It's toothless. But here's the problem. It's not a question of whether or not it's enforceable. It's a question of whether or not you are offering an excuse to the enemies of the United States to abuse their power when they have it. See, without the agreement, it becomes much more difficult for a bad actor who's elected legitimately or otherwise in the U.S. to take maneuvers to force American military involvement.
Yeah.
And so, the optimist that would prefer that a communist or a Democrat never again win any elected office doesn't just, you cannot rely on that. And so a gentleman's agreement like this adds a legal argument for those people to make to abuse our resources and pull another Russia-Ukraine situation just like this one. Because you keep hearing people say Putin is the aggressor. Putin started this war. That's bullshit. That's not what happened. Putin was a dog on a chain, and Joe Biden went and threw him into the chicken's coop. Joe Biden started this war. He did it on purpose. And okay,
after poking it with a stick, after Obama poked it with a stick for 8 years. Okay.
Yeah. So Obama and Biden and the Democrat international money laundering machine started this war on purpose. They took specific, clear policy maneuvers to create the conflict in Ukraine because they wanted a new forever war to replace Afghanistan as we rolled it up.
That's right. And that's a good point. The military
and I believe that's part of why Zelensky continues to sabotage peace talks, is because he's part of that money laundering machine. He's part of that activity.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
And as we've talked about, he is separate from the Ukrainian people. He's not one of them in the strictest sense.
And I'm glad you mentioned that.
He has absolutely he doesn't have any legitimate motivation to save Ukrainian lives. As long as he can dump faces in the meat grinder and keep cashing American checks, he's going to continue to sabotage peace talks.
And I think that's what that might be what Alex was pointing at when he says it's maintaining the status quo. I'll tell you one thing that's going to get maintained is the military-industrial complex. The MIC is going to continue to get paid. All right. And part of that will be after this peace deal is made, there may not be U.S. troops stationed there, at least not in an official capacity, but the Ukrainian military is going to get completely rearmed with fresh U.S. war material. Okay.
Yeah.
We will rearm the shit
out of them. And that's what Alex is talking about right here. I don't want to defend Russia because I hate Russia, but Ukraine persecuting ethnic Russians for 10 years while Russia issued warning after warning. That's what got us here. And that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly the political situation on the ground that made Putin the mad dog on a leash that Biden and the Democrat money laundering complex were able to leverage to intercede and start this conflict.
Well, he seized Crimea because the West wouldn't stop fucking with him, and then they also seized South Ossetia in one of the Caucasus countries. Okay, so it's not like
it's a Georgian.
In Georgia, yeah.
South Ossetia, that was Georgia.
Right. So it's not like Putin wasn't telegraphing what he would do. Okay, it's just no one in NATO took him seriously. And then
Well,
holy
and
shit,
let's not forget
he actually did it. Like,
Ukraine.
yeah,
Ukraine disarmed. Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons. And one thing we can take away from this whole thing, Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons, and then when Russia did make its initial invasion maneuvers, one of the first things Zelensky did is he said, "Hey, get all the civilians to line up because we're giving everybody a fucking rifle. Everybody gets a gun." And you'll remember that was one of the first things we covered when that happened. We were like, "Yeah, no shit.
yeah,
Yeah, everybody gets a gun. You know what? It's faster if you just keep them armed all the time." Second Amendment, right? Between the clear strategic and tactical mistake that it was for them to surrender their nuclear weapons. I'm not a fan of nuclear weapons, but nukes are like guns in this way. They exist, and that fact will not change.
No, Ukraine had no business having those nuclear weapons. And let's be honest, they weren't.
Hey, Mario,
They're Soviet missiles.
move your mic. I'm losing you.
How about now? Better?
Better, much better.
Okay. Now the Ukraine 1991 had no business with nuclear weapons. Okay, they had to be seized because the country was pretty much up in the air as far as leadership is concerned, or even like the identity of who they were. You know what I mean? I mean, it's Ukraine is essentially two macro groups. There's the more Polish ones in the west, and then the more Russian ones in the east. Okay, if you want to really simplify it.
Right.
Plus, it was basically it was a smash and grab. All you can, supermarket sweeps. Okay, liquidation sale on military supplies. Okay, on Soviet war material after the fall of the Soviet Union. There is no way in hell that you could allow the Ukraine, all right, this nascent state, to be armed with nuclear weapons, because that shit would have got sold out. They would have sold it. Okay, corrupt individuals would have sold it. Think like Lord of War. All right.
Yeah.
With Nicolas Cage. It was Russia and the United States both came to
That's a great film.
Russia,
what the hell are you doing?
Russia and the United States both came to an agreement that we need to in a controlled and measured way extract these weapons away from the Ukraine and basically send them back to Russia. Okay.
I need to watch Lord of War again. He's sitting there. The warlord picks up the gun and fires it and just kills one of his attendants there. And Nick Cage jumps up and says, "What the hell are you doing?" And he takes it and he starts polishing. He says, "Now it's a used gun. I can't sell it. Now you have to buy it because it's a used gun. I can't sell it like this."
Yeah.
No, nothing about the offsider that he just shot. Nope. It's a used gun. It's a great movie.
And
I'm Ukrainian.
I'm glad Alex brought up the Ukrainian Constitution. Okay, he's talking about how
we keep hearing Zelensky say we don't even have the option to give up land. We can't give up land. That's not in the our Constitution forbids it. Zelensky,
exactly. So go to the front line.
Land.
Go to the front line, wave a piece of paper, and say, "Hey guys, hold up! This is unconstitutional." Like, okay, give me a break.
Yeah, you don't have the move. You don't have the land to give up. You've lost it. It's not a question of you giving up land.
War vitiates your constitution, and it's political, right? Well, I mean, it wasn't Immanuel Kant who said that war is just politics pursued by other means, right?
Yeah.
War is a continuation of politics by other means. Yeah. So you can put down your constitution. That you don't even. Zelensky talks about his constitution,
right? And we already mentioned earlier.
He's essentially a dictator. He's a dictator.
He suspended elections. Pitt Danny says October 7th wouldn't have happened with the Second Amendment. I'm going to give you a little pushback there because October 7th, you're talking about the attack on the Israelis by the kite-born Hamas, which, hey, bold maneuver, Cotton. But that happened at a music festival. And so, here in the United States, we have the Second Amendment, at least in theory. And in fairness, it has grown stronger over the last few years, more and more states going to that so-called constitutional carry. But the fact remains that at large social gathering events like a music festival, sports games, etc., there's often a mechanism there to disarm the public before before they enter. So you'll have to go through a magnetometer, stuff like that, and they'll disarm you. Now, it just an aside, 2017, just the magnetometer. 2017, Donald Trump came to Atlanta, Georgia, and took over the CNN building, and they did the big NRA convention at the CNN building with I don't remember exactly what it was, but they advertised it being like 3,700 acres of gun show, and it was freaking awesome. And the Brushfire Mind was there. We were there with press badges issued by the White House.
Right.
We were actually in the White House press pool for that event, which meant that we got to go into the special press rooms where they just had like buffet bars of snacky foods and coffee and everything. It was fucking awesome. At that event, it's an NRA gun show. There was no check getting in the door. So you're walking around the gun show all you want with your concealed carry weapon on. I actually bought a new concealed carry holster while I was there. I took my loaded firearm out and put it in the new holster and put the new holster on at the booth where I bought, and threw the old one away at the booth where I bought the holster. No problem. Right? But if you wanted to go in the room, when I went into the room to get into the press pool and set up my camera between Fox News and CNN, and the president of the United States was going to walk out on the stage, I had to go through. No, Patrick, it was near the Georgia Dome. It was actually in the CNN building. I had to go through security, and there were 2 magnetometers. You had to go through both of them, and they searched all your camera bags, and they searched your Secret Service was there to pat us down. It was a don't F around situation. So basically we had some fun at the gun show, went back to the truck and locked our guns up in the truck and went in to see the president and see all the speakers and get all that video, and then went back out to the trucks and rearmed and went back in the building. Alex says he was there. Yeah, we ran into each other. We didn't hang out much while we were there, but we ran into. I think we ran into each other while we were there. It was a good event.
Chris is a little guy. It's easy to lose him in a crowd. I understand.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're kind of.
Yeah, we're off the topic now.
Yeah, I wanted to.
The key takeaway is basically what happened yesterday. Is America's allies came to beg for more free money and offered no benefit in exchange.
My key takeaway was it's early formation of a demilitarized zone in eastern Ukraine. Okay, that's what it looks like, and Zelensky is going to have to. So this would be so much easier if Zelensky wasn't there. Okay, which is part of the problem. Okay, I mean he could be democratically removed from office. Okay, that would be the most convenient way to get rid of him, but he won't allow that. All right, because he knows that he would be thrown out in a heartbeat. Right. So perhaps there are other methods of getting rid of Zelensky. Okay, Zelensky is the biggest obstacle to peace, as far as I'm concerned right now, because he hasn't changed his positions in 3 years. Okay, he's still trying to be a hardliner and not give in, give no ground. Okay, make no concessions to Russia, and that's just not going to frickin' work. All right. Keep playing that game, and there will be no Ukraine. Keep playing that game, and then the Russians will turn their forces on Odessa, and then you will become a landlocked shithole.
Yep.
Make a deal right now while you still have access to the Black Sea. Anyway, Aaron Olson nailed it on the head when he said October 7th would not have happened if maybe the Israeli border guards were not held back. That's correct. The Israeli military was on stand down that day. Okay, and the most sophisticated electronic surveillance operation in any military on earth. Okay, basically, the Israeli army, the IDF, and Mossad saying that they didn't know Hamas was coming is bullshit. Okay, plus the Israeli military executed the Hannibal option after they finally mobilized and counterattacked. Okay, basically exacerbating the casualties by indiscriminately firing on foe and friend alike. All right, Hannibal option. Look it up. So, and it was all done on pretext so that they could execute a final solution against the Palestinians. Okay, that's basically what it is. That's basically what October 7th was. So, um, personally, I don't. As far as Israel and Palestine, by all means, kill each other. I don't. I don't care.
Yeah,
I just don't. I don't want to be. I don't want to be part of it. Go for it.
yeah. I don't want needless killing and suffering around the world, but basically, if you're not within the contiguous United States, and you just want to wipe each other out, I don't care.
You've made it perfectly clear since 1948 that there's no point in any other government getting involved in your eternal death spiral against each other. Okay, so concluded. For all I care.
Well, and on that cheery note,
Yep.
That's all I've got for this morning, and I'm out of coffee. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Thanks for watching this morning, you guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.